Serious. What's the most immature thing you've seen a grown-ass adult do? My grandmother was telling that her mother-in-law was one of those people who needed attention constantly on them. At an important dinner with dozens of people, people were talking to her son and not her. She hid behind a pillar and would occasionally exclaim, "Since no one is listening to me, I guess no one wants to see me at all." I had a coworker give me the silent treatment for 2 weeks. She was surprised I didn't know she was mad at me. I just thought she was busy and working hard. This woman and her husband confronted me and tried to start a fight for unfriending her on Facebook. We are in our mid-30s and have never interacted on Facebook and haven't spoken 5 years. Today, a man yelled at me because the hotel I work at doesn't have an ATM. There is a gas station less than 3 minutes walking distance from the hotel. He yelled at me for even suggesting he go to the gas station to get anything other than gas. We were renting 2 rooms from my mill when things went south. Long story. Basically, after a long string of issues, she ended up assaulting me. We found a new place to live the same day, but came to an agreement that she would stay with my sil and we'd have everything out by Thursday. We ended up getting everything out on Tuesday. On Wednesday night, she decided to come back down and take her entire trash can, split open the bags, and leave it on the front yard. She also busted out her front window and claimed we did it. The upstairs neighbors at our place verified that we were, in fact, over at our new place all night. Better yet, MIL's neighbors verified that we had not been over since Tuesday and the yard and window were fine then. Best yet, a nosy neighbor saw her car pull in the driveway that night, stay there for like 15 minutes or so, and peel out. In the end, she ended up costing herself a $300 littering citation and a new window. My stepmom used to bully me just because I was a child. Looking back, I realize she was on pills and probably extremely frustrated that she had to take me in when my mom died. It's still no excuse to pick on a 7-year-old. I knew a girl who kicked 2 of her bridesmaids out of her wedding last minute because they weren't able to pay for all the exorbitant shit for her day. And then she proceeded to replace them with 2 broke meth addicts because she'd burned every other bridge. When I tried to explain myself to my father and he kept interrupting me and mimicked every word I said like a fucking toddler. By the way, he's 60. I work in retail, and it amazes me how quick grown-ups devolve back into children when there's a sale or during the weekend rush. They mess up the whole store. And the 2/3 staff who are free during closing have to clean up as best they can in the 15/20ths of a minute we've got. I've had customers throw away all shame over not being able to get their shoe size that was sold out we received, some in front of their kids. And you just stand there wondering, you really gonna teach your kids to behave like this when shopping? In public. I walked past 2 mothers pushing prams, one of them having a second child walking alongside them. And upon seeing me, a man with dwarfism, one of the mothers started laughing, pointed at me, going, look at the funny little man," to her older kid, clearly within earshot of me, and when I heard the kid say, "What is he?" she said, "He's a midget." Felt like I got transported back to the 1800s freak show era or some shit. I just looked back to stare at her with an appalled look on my face. She didn't respond to me at all. It's like she didn't even acknowledge me as a person. Great attitude to instill in your kids. When I was in high school, my dad's family and I were on vacation in Park City, Utah. My dad got a spider bite that was terrifying and literally taking over his leg. It was the size of a baseball. Not exaggerating. Purple. And it was like a giant crater seeping with pus and blood, and he was getting hot flashes and shit, and it was clear that he really needed to go to the hospital, that this was a serious spider bite not to be ignored or self-treated. Every time we tried to force him to hospital, he threw a tantrum like throwing his arms in the air and stomping his feet, like a 3-year-old. And he just treated it himself by rubbing colloidal silver all over it like 1,000 times a day. Looking back, I realize now, and I knew it then but was sort of in denial. It was because he was high out of his mind on cocaine and opiates and didn't want the hospital figuring that out and basically outing him to all of us. We already knew. I mean, your dad can only fall asleep in his dinner plate in fine dining establishments so many times before you realize he's deaf on drugs. Anyways, my dad did a lot of other immature shit when he was in the depths of his addiction, but the spider bite thing was just a specific incident where I really took a step back and thought to myself, this is my dad. Like as he qualified for this because I'm looking at 3-year-old throwing a hissy fit about going to the doctor and not a parent right now. One brother didn't invite the other brother to his wedding for many valid reasons. The uninvited brother then ruins the rehearsal dinner by faking an overdose. He was living in another state, so not easy to verify, which caused everyone to worry. Then his wife attacked someone during the reception. My mom refuses to ever apologize to me for the simple fact that I am her child and therefore always wrong. I worked one summer as a Walmart cashier in a rural area, so I've seen some shit. Literally. The one that always stands out to me was a woman who would constantly bring in old flyers for stores way out of our area and demand to price match. One day she was making price match demands and didn't even have a sale flyer. Just saying she knew it was X price at this other store. It was a totally unreasonable amount. We kept sale flyers from every store in like a 50 miles radius at the register, so we knew she was lying. She lost her mind that day and started throwing every item out of her cart onto the floor. Glass jar of pickles, thrown to the ground like she just scored a touchdown. Eggs, pasta sauce, glass and food everywhere. Started throwing things towards other cashiers and customers, while screaming like an animal. And you know what the manager did? Rather than calling the cops, he gave her a $100 gift card for her troubles. BC, the customer is always right at Walmart. I left shortly after, but I heard she just upped the antics until eventually she hurt someone and got arrested. About an hour ago I was helping my dad work on his truck. The truck fell off the jack onto me. Luckily I'm okay outside of a decent gash and some bruises. But the entire time I am trying to get out from under the truck, he's just standing there screaming and cussing at me cause his truck might be damaged. Even worse now. Never once did he ask me okay. Just kept screaming at me, telling me I owe him whatever it costs to fix what I fucked up. Then TK after the fact be confronted by my mother telling me I need to move out because neither of us will ever be happy living with one another. So it's just a few more days until I get the inevitable. Please don't go, I need the money you pay me for rent to afford my medicines. From my dad. I am not even mad or frustrated. I guess the best way to describe this feeling is a very deep tiredness. There's onky so much of your heart soul you can pour out to your abusive parents before you don't have any left for yourself. Without the money I give him he can't afford his insulin. Without his insulin he dies. But the rent I pay is so high that it prevents me from being able to afford rent basically anywhere when you factor in my car payment and other bills. I am so tired of waking up in the morning, and defeat is the very first emotion I feel when I open my eyes. BF at the time and I. Early 20s. We're at a hotel for a tattoo convention. He slightly disagreed with me over something and then kept arguing. But it was a matter of opinion, so I didn't bother arguing back. He got up, opened the closet, walked in and shut the door. I assume he expected me to beg him to come out. Which is funny cause I didn't realize he was a huge homophobe. And he stayed in there for about 20 minutes. He came out, still mad, and gave me the cold shoulder for the rest of the weekend. Bluffed to check security cameras after being accused of something and then throwing a tantrum after video footage has damning evidence and storming off to his room. Yes. This is my dad. Edit. For those who want details. The details make him even more immature. My mom lectured him saying he shouldn't wear nice pants when doing yard work. He wouldn't admit that he wore the nice pants for the life of him. This is when he bluffed and told me to check the security camera. My husband's father went up to a bucket labeled acid and leaned over it, with the lid on. Looked up at my husband and I since we were working with him that day. I wonder if this is really acid. Insert opening the lid and taking a big whiff of the acid. Looks at us almost crying. Yup. That's acid. He is a fucking moron. But I love him and look up to him. I caught my ex cheating on me. And I confronted him. Mind you, I was the only one working for the entire duration of our relationship. He got kicked out of his house for not having a job and never contributing, about a month into us dating. And I, stupidly, told him he could live with me if he found a job. Surprise, surprise. The job never came. Anywho, I find out he's cheating on me, because one of the many side women found out he had a girlfriend, and was an absolute angel and told me what was up. Sent me all the texts. This fucker even sent her pictures from my laptop. While lying on my bed. In my goddamn minor threat t-shirt. For fuck's sake. So I confront him, and instead of taking any accountability, he takes my phone from my hand, throws throws it on the ground, absolutely destroying it. He tries to get in my face. But I'm not about to have some man baby intimidate me. So I tell him to suck on my taint and get the fuck out of my house. This motherfucker throws himself on the floor like a toddler. Screaming, kicking, the whole nine. And then finally leaves. I packed his shit, threw it on the porch, and changed the locks. Bye. Bitch. TLDR. I caught my ex cheating and he acted a damn fool about it.